Aris, good afternoon. Sanket, good afternoon. Anadu Vishwanath, good afternoon. How are you all? Am I audible to you? मेरी आवाज आ रही है आपको? Okay. So I welcome you once again in yet another very exciting session on grammar, VARC. Today is Grammar Thursday, and I am Pradip Sengupta. I bring to you grammar principles, और आज हम डिस्कस करने वाले हैं modifiers. I hope I am loud and clear. So modifiers, before we start the discussion, what is modifier, what is a modifier, and how do we go about understanding the nuances and the concepts? Very quickly, we will talk about the sessions. This is how we are placed today. You are joining me at 2 o'clock, and again, we are going to meet at 5:30 in an app session, and we will discuss para summary. It is going to be a session on verbal logic. All right. So this is how we are placed, and one of the most important aspects that we are going to discuss today is modifier. Apart from CAT, आपको बता दूं, there are so many other management entrance exams in which modifiers are asked in the form of spotting the error or sentence correction questions, and it is one of the most important areas of grammar. Yes, grammar is going to make a comeback in different format in other management exams, and we have to understand those subtle nuances and concepts that is going to help us crack the sentence correction segment. So just before we start the session, a humble reminder: if you like our session, do not forget to press the like button so that you can have access to many more exciting sessions of BYJU'S exam prep. Don't forget to press the like button. Okay, so what exactly are modifiers, and how do we understand that modifiers kaise kaam karega? Okay, see, modifier happens to be a word or a phrase which actually qualifies or describes a word. It qualifies a word and it describes the word. Okay, so anything that qualifies or describe a word has to be an adverb or an adjective, and we will try to make it easy for you with the help of these two examples. I spoke only to her and only I spoke to her. Please ध्यान दीजिएगा on the word that has been underlined. All right. In the very first example of modifiers, the word only is coming next to a verb, which means in the first sentence, only qualifies the verb. Hence, it is an adverb, right? And in the second sentence, only qualifies a pronoun. So look at the placement. So in both the sentences, only happens to be the modifier, but most interestingly, you might have seen that both the sentences have a different meaning. दोनों की meaning अलग अलग है. I spoke only to her means और किसी ने उससे बात नहीं की, सिर्फ मैंने की. I spoke only to her. Okay. And then it says only I spoke to her. किसी ने उससे बात नहीं की, सिर्फ मैंने की. Only I spoke to her. So in both the cases, you have a different meaning altogether. Payal, good afternoon. I hope you're doing good. All right. So this is all about modifiers. Just a beginning. What is a modifier? Once again, it qualifies or describes a phrase or a clause. All right. Okay. Now there are many varieties and types of modifiers. There are many kinds of modifiers, right? Different parts of speech can act as modifiers. So in the first case, we will see that modifiers can act as an adverb or an adverb phrase. A group of words that does the function of an adverb is an adverb phrase. So what is an adverb? An adverb qualifies a verb. An adverb qualifies an adjective. An adverb can qualify an adverb also. Suppose I say, the king replied angrily. So how did the king reply? He replied angrily. You have an adverb over here, right? It's rather cold today. So cold is what? Cold is an adjective. How cold? Rather cold. Even rather is an adverb. He replied very smartly. How did he reply? Very smartly. Now, if I just make a quick adjustment in the sentence, he replied fairly smartly. How smartly? Fairly smartly. So, in this case, you have one more word fairly, which is an adverb, and it qualifies yet another adverb, smartly. So, over here, what can a modifier be? It can be an adverb. It can also be an adverbial phrase. And this is very, very clearly understood with the help of the following examples. Hi Sagir, hello, how are you? I hope you're doing good. Welcome on board. So let us understand the adverb or adverb phrase acting as a modifier with the help of a few examples. It says, she answered the questions smartly. Look at smartly, it has been highlighted. It actually qualifies what? Answered. How did she answer the question? Smartly. One word modifier, it's an adverb. Hari stood on the bench. In this case, you have a word group. आपके सामने एक word group आ गया. Okay? लेकिन किसको modify कर रहा है? Stood को, verb को. He stood on the bench. He stood where? On the bench. Over here, we have an adverbial phrase. And they qualify. Hi Ayushi, hello, I hope you're doing good. Welcome on board. Okay, so on the bench, it modifies or qualifies what? Stood. Again, you have an adverbial phrase over here. So look at the word group. In the first case, we had just one word, and in the second case, we have quite a few words. They act as a word group, and again, they qualify what? A verb. Look at the next one. We are in the middle of the ocean. Quite a big word group. But what does this word group modify? किसको modify कर रहा है? Are को. Are क्या है? It's a verb. So आपको किस चीज का आंसर मिला? We are where? In the middle of the ocean. So in the middle of the ocean qualifies the verb are. So these examples, the words and word groups in the red are modifiers and they are adverbs. I hope it is understood. Okay. Hi Ashwini. Good afternoon. You did not miss much, dear. Right? We have just begun the session. So stay through. You haven't missed much. Okay? Alright. Now, what can... Okay, fine. Modifiers can also be an adjective or an adjective clause. What is a clause? It is nothing, any sentence or any part of a sentence which has the subject verb format is a clause, right? For example, sun is hot, it's a clause. My name is Gautam, it's a clause. It is a pleasant weather today, it's a clause. So any subject verb agreement, any subject verb combo will give you a clause. So what is an adjective? What is an adjective clause? A clause that works as an adjective, a clause that functions as an adjective. But what is an adjective for that matter? We know that adjectives are describing words, right? And hence adjectives can also be called modifiers. Look at the very first example. It says it was a horrific accident. What kind? It was a horrific incident. What kind of an incident? Incident is a noun. So we have the word horrific describing a noun. Hence it is an adjective and a modifier. All right. Okay. Look at the second sentence. It is fairly a long one. It says, I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. It's quite a long clause. Okay? A famous quote by Dr. Martin Luther King. Alright, Jr. But what does this clause refer to? It refers to dream. What kind of dream? This clause in red, right? Whatever it talks about, that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. What exactly does it modify? Don't you think it talks about dream? And what is a dream? Dream is a noun. So anything that qualifies a noun will have to be an adjective. So this is one long adjective clause. It talks about dream. Hence, it is a modifier that qualifies the word dream. Is that understood? So this is an adjective or an adjective clause. They function as modifiers. All right. This is another kind of modifier. All right. Okay. Let's look at the next variant. Modifiers can also be a noun clause. Please understand, noun, we know that noun is the name of person, place, animal or thing. सबको पता है. लेकिन थोड़ा सा टेक्निकली अगर बात कर लेंगे, टेक्निकल इश्यूज पे अगर बात कर लेंगे, what is a noun? It can either be the subject of the sentence or it can be the object of the sentence. For example, Virat plays cricket or Virat Kohli plays cricket. So you have three elements over here. The subject element, which is Virat Kohli. You have the verb element, that is plays. Also, you have the object element, cricket. Why? Because it answers the question what? So, a noun can be a subject. Also, a noun can be an object. Alright? So, what is a noun clause? Any word group that functions as a noun is a noun clause. So, these are the 5 pointers that will help you understand what a noun clause can be. You see, a noun clause can be, number one, the subject of a sentence. Okay. Why he left the city is uncertain. Now, please try to understand this. Why he left the city is uncertain. And why am I saying that why he left the city is a noun clause? Because it answers the question what. This is the trick. Always ask yourself this question. Any word or word group that answers the question what will either be a noun phrase or a noun clause. Alright. And in this case, why he left the city is the subject of the sentence. And where is the predicate? Is uncertain. This is the predicate. Isn't it? Is uncertain is the predicate. So why he left the city is a noun clause. Why? Because it comes in the beginning of the sentence and it comes right before the verb is. Okay, that is why it is a noun clause. I hope it is understood. Okay, look at the second one. What does it tell you? It says the object of a transitive verb. Now, we are going a bit technical over here because these are some of the, pointers which I think you should know. आपको पता होना चाहिए. What is an object? Right? कोई भी verb, any verb that answers the question what. Okay, yahan pe, if it answers the question what, you have an object. Okay, look over here. She told him that she won't go. Please ask yourself a small question. She told him what? That she won't go is the answer. Okay, and is this a clause? Yes, it is a clause. How do you know? It has a subject, verb, combination. She told him that she won't go. Ask yourself a question. She told him what? That she won't go. So this answers the question, told him what? So this is the object of the verb told, hence it is a noun clause. What else a noun clause can be? It can be an object of a preposition. Look, you have an object over here. Preposition over here, I'm sorry. Listen carefully to. To is a preposition and it answers the question what? Listen to. Listen carefully to what? What the teacher has to say. So what the teacher has to say is an object to preposition. Hence it is a noun clause. In apposition to a noun or a pronoun, when two similar phrase or clause, they come parallel to each other, right? They become the appositions of each other. In this case, I discovered what? That the boy was missing. It is a noun clause, but it is coming in apposition to the verb discovered. And the last one, the complement of the incomplete verb. The complement of an incomplete verb. What is an incomplete verb? The be form. Okay, the B form, is, am, are, they are known as B form. So any object or any complement that comes right after the be verb is a noun clause. For example, this is what? This is where I live. So where I live is a complement to the incomplete verb is. So how do we categorize noun clause? We categorize noun clause in 5 different pointers. It can be the subject of a verb, it can be the object of a transitive verb, it can be the object of a preposition. Also, it can be in an apposition to a noun or a pronoun. Also, last but not the least, it can be a complement of the incomplete verb be. So this is all about the noun clause. These are certain terms which I think you should know. And how do you apply all these things when you solve sentence correction problems? That we will discuss in the subsequent slides. Any problems so far? Okay. So what are we talking about? We are talking about modifiers. We are dealing in modifiers. All right. Okay. A modifier can also be an adverb clause. We have just seen how an adverb functions, right? Look at this example. As the bell rung, the children came rushing out of the classrooms. As the bell rung, the children came rushing out of the classrooms. Now, in this entire sentence structure, find out the verb. Where is the verb? Came. Okay, the children came rushing out of the classroom. Ask yourself a question. Now, we have came over here. Ask yourself a question. When did the children come rushing out of the classroom? As the bell rung. So, we have a sentence structure that qualifies the verb came. So, as the bell rung is an adverb clause, hence it is a modifier. Why? Because it qualifies, this adverb clause modifies the verb came. So this is what modifiers look like. So identification of the phrases, identification of the sentence structures, they become important. So once you understand how to identify the sentence parts, whether it is an adverb, whether it is an adverb clause, whether it is an adjective, adjective phrase or an adjective clause, answering the questions will become all the more easier for you. All right? Moving on. Okay. Modifiers can be a participle. Now, this is one important segment which you have to understand. This concept. What is a participle? A participle is a verb that functions as an adjective. Okay, a participle is a verb that functions as an adjective. All right, look over here. Okay, noticing him, she became conscious. Okay, notice, I noticed you, he noticed me. So what is noticed? Noticed is a verb. But noticing him, don't you think it actually describes an activity being done by somebody? Noticing him, it is describing an action done by the subject. And look at the participle over here. It is a present participle. So notice plus ing, right? So a verb ending with ing will give you a present participle. Okay, whereas the third form of the verbs ending with t, d, en, they will give you the past participles. But right now we are talking about how a participle can modify a noun or a subject. Noticing him, who? She became conscious. So this is again a participle. All right. Caught on the camera. Now over here you have a past participle. Okay, the third form of the verb. Caught on the camera. He made a public apology. Now over here, ask yourself a question. Who was caught on the camera? I think you know the answer. The answer is he. So he was caught on the camera. So don't you think caught describes the subject he? As in the first case, noticing described the subject he. So these participles can also function as a modifier. All right. So participles can also be modifiers can also be participles. All right. So just take a quick recap. What did we see? We saw that modifiers can be adverbs, modifiers can be adjectives or adjective clauses, modifiers can also be noun clauses, they can be adverb clauses as well. Also, modifiers can be participles. All right. Now, after having understood what modifiers are, can we now talk about how modifiers help you find out the errors in a sentence, or what kind of errors are you going to find in sentence correction exercises? If at all you have sentence correction or spotting the error questions coming up in the exams like SNAP, IIFT, NMAT, so on and so forth, how will you find out the errors? Okay, so when you talk about modifiers, primarily there are two kinds of errors that crop up in a modifier based error, sentence correction errors. Okay, one is known as the dangling modifier. Please look at the picture. Okay, please look at the image. It shows you a cat. Okay, and then it says, reading a book, the cat jumped onto my lap. Reading a book, the cat jumped onto my lap. Okay, look at the very first structure, reading a book. Now, who was reading a book? Look at the very first component of the latter part of the sentence. Reading a book. What does reading a book modify or qualify? Reading a book qualifies the cat. So according to the sentence, the cat was reading a book. Now, how can a cat read a book? So this word group, reading a group, there is a fault in the entire construction because it wrongly modifies the cat. Somebody who was reading a book, yes, the cat might have jumped onto his lap or her lap, not the cat who was reading the book. All right. So what is actually a dangling modifier problem? A dangling modifier problem crops up when a word or a phrase, right, it does not have a clear referent. Okay, a word or phrase that modifies a word not clearly stated in the sentence. So we do not know what does the modifier refer to. So when we have this kind of a problem where we don't have a proper referent in the sentence, then the dangling modifier error problems crop up. All right, let us understand with the help of some examples how the errors crop up in dangling modifiers. Okay, subject missing. This is one technique which you must keep in mind, right? In a dangling modifier problem, what happens? The subject is missing. Okay, and what is the idea? The idea is to insert the subject next to or after the modifier. Okay, all right. I'm so sorry, Vaibhav. Good afternoon. I did not understand this question of yours. Okay. Can you elaborate it a bit, right? When you say suspension on clarity, if you could just elaborate, Vaibhav, what exactly you wanted to ask me. All right. So let's carry on from here. Look at the very first example. ये बड़ा मजेदार है. ये क्या कह रहा है? Seeing the principal coming, books were opened by the students. Now please answer the question. Where is the modifier? Seeing the principal coming. Okay. Hi Tanishka, good afternoon. Not to worry, we are not even halfway through. So please stay with us. Seeing the principal coming. अब exactly देखो, what is placed after seeing the principal coming? Books, right? Hang on, stop here. Ask yourself a question. How can books see the principal coming? So, do you think we have the right referent? No, we don't have the right referent, right? Seeing the principal coming, it should have modified or it should have qualified students. But in this case, seeing the principal coming is modifying books, right? Hence, this is wrong. What is right? The next sentence. Look at it. Seeing the principal coming, who? The students opened the books. So, what was the problem with the first sentence? The subject, the right subject was missing. Hence, it suffers from the problem of dangling modifier. Alright, the first one is wrong. The second one is absolutely correct, right? It follows the parameters of modifiers. Alright, look at the second example. What does it tell you? After consulting a selection of current publication, research in this area has been sparse. Okay, not many, not much, okay, but quite little. After consulting a selection of current publication, again, answer the question. After consulting a selection of current publication, who has consulted? And what is the first word that comes after this section? Research. Do we find somebody's name being mentioned who might have consulted a selection of current publication? So the subject is missing. This is also talks about the problem based on dangling modifier. Why? Because we don't have the right subject over here. Whereas if you look at the next sentence, after consulting a selection of current publication, who? I. It can be he, it could have been she, it could have been they. So the bottom line is you need a subject. Okay, so in the absence of a subject, the sentence suffers from the problem of dangling modifier. So the second one is right, the first one was wrong. So over here you have two very quick examples of modifier errors, dangling modifier problems. Do you want to ask me any question? So far so good till here? Are we on the same page? Have we understood? Okay, moving on. Now we have understood the problem of dangling modifier. Now we are moving into our next segment, that is the problem of misplaced modifier. Okay, look at the image once again. What does the image tell you? The image tells you that, now it has a caption. The caption says, spitting out hot lava, my friend took photos as the volcano erupted. Spitting out hot lava, my friend took photos as the volcano erupted. Now look at the modifier. Till now we know how a modifier would look like. Spitting out hot lava. Look at the participle. Spitting out hot lava. Now who was spitting out hot lava? And look at the very first word over here. My friend. So this part of the sentence, it modifies my friend, right? Such a hilarious composition, such a hilarious construction. How can my friend spit out hot lava? वो hot lava कैसे spit out कर सकता है? Right? So this, whereas spitting out hot lava, actually it should have modified volcano, but it is modifying my friend. So this part should have been placed after volcano and not after my friend. So we have a problem of misplaced modifier. So what is misplaced modifier? A phrase or a clause that incorrectly, wrongly modifies or refers to the wrong subject or a wrong object. Alright? Incorrectly separated from the word, it modifies. So it is misplaced. And what kind of error do we find in misplaced modifier problems? Let us talk about them. Right? Now look over here. Right? A phrase or a clause or a word that is incorrectly separated. Right? And what is the treatment and what is the solution? How do we get the answer right? How do we get the sentence correct? Place the subject next to or after the modifier as appropriate. Okay? We will try to understand this with the help of a couple of examples. The first one says, Rupali said, Rohan told me he wanted to marry me often. So we know that the modifier is the word often. But look at the placement of modifier, the modifier often. It says, Rohan often told me, or Rohan told me he wanted to marry me often. वो मुझसे अक्सर शादी करना चाहता था. Okay, how can you marry the same person repetitively? Right? It is. Don't you think it is funny? Rohan told me he wanted to marry me often. Right? The correct version should have been Rohan often told me. So this word often, it is an adverb. It should have modified the verb told. Hence, it should have been placed right next to the verb told and not like this. So the first sentence suffers from the problem of misplaced modifier. Hence, it is wrong. The second one is the right one. Rohan often told me he wanted to marry me often. That's how a sentence should be constructed. The first one suffers from the problem of misplaced modifier. When we correct it, this is the rectified version. Alright? Okay, this was quite an easy one. Look at the next one. Dolger discovered an ancient Mayan civilization using astronavigation. Where is the modifier? The modifier is using astronavigation, right? And where is it placed? It is placed near civilization. So ask yourself a question. How can civilization use astronavigation? Can a civilization use astronavigation? Not at all. Look at the next one. Using astronavigation. Who? Dolger, right? So this is a modifier which correctly modifies the subject Dolger. It is Dolger who actually uses astronavigation to discover an ancient civilization, not the other way around. So the first one is wrong, the second one is correct, and this was again an example of misplaced modifier. Right? Any problem so far? So modifiers are very important and you have to focus on the sentences because more often than not, the sentences suffer from structural error. So if you know your grammar well, then you will not have these structural errors cropping up every now and then. Alright? Now, based on whatever we have discussed so far, can we solve a few questions? Right? Look at the very first question. One sentence has been phrased and rephrased in 4 different types. Can we bring home the correct answer? Based on the modifier concepts that we have just discovered, can we solve question number 1? Any answer? Any responses? Okay, so let's look at the very first sentence. Running across the floor, the rug slipped and I lost my balance. So, very easily we can understand running across the floor is the modifier, right? And it talks about the rug. Okay, now it's common sense. How can a rug run across the floor? This is wrong, right? It wrongly modifies the rug. Ashwini says 4. Ujjwal says 4. And guess what, Ashwini and Ujjwal, you people are absolutely right. Okay? But let me just give you a quick explanation. The rug slipped and lost the balance. This is absolutely ungrammatical. How can a rug slip and lose balance even this is wrong? The same problem persists in question 3. In sentence 3, the rug slipped. A rug cannot slip. So the right version is, as I was running across the floor, what happened? The rug slipped and I lost my balance. You might have stepped on the rug, it slipped and you lost your balance. So fourth one is the right option. Quite easily done. Congratulations, you got this one right. Can we look at one more example? Okay. Question number 2. Tanishka says 3. Prakhar, okay. Fantastic answers. All right. The answer is 3. It is pretty understood, right? It was a no-brainer. Look at the first one. We ate the lunch that slowly we had bought. This is ungrammatical. The structure is absolutely ridiculous. So this is, of course, it can be crossed out. We ate the lunch that we had bought slowly. We ate the lunch. Yes, we know that we're talking about lunch that we had brought slowly. Now slowly modifies bought, doesn't make any sense. Gone. We ate the lunch that we slowly had bought. This is again ungrammatical, doesn't make sense. So the best option is we slowly ate the lunch that we had bought. Slowly should have modified the word ate. So we were looking for the right modifier, modifying the right verb. So 3 should have been the answer. Okay. So you got the first 2 questions right. Congratulations. Moving on to the next one, dear. Okay. How about this one? Any guesses? Okay, Tanishka says 1. Maybe, but your option got me interested. Okay. See, you have to look at grammar as well as logic. Okay, there's a possibility of both the sportsman and the old man winning a gold medal in the Olympics if the old man happens to be a sportsman. So what is logical? The logical is we are talking about Olympic gold medal and we have a word over here, sportsman. Okay, so the logic says, common sense says that a sportsman should win a medal at the Olympics. So over here, where is the modifier? who won the gold medal, right? Now, ideally, who won the gold medal can qualify this old man, it can also qualify the sportsman, okay? In the first case, let us keep it into consideration. Look at the second one. The sportsman is the nephew of the old man and has won the gold medal at the Olympics. As if we are talking about two different attributes and quality of this sportsman. One quality is he has won a medal, and the other attribute is he happens to be the nephew of the old man. This is not structured properly. Okay. On this ground, you can strike it off. Look at the third one. The sportsman who won the gold medal at the Olympics. Okay, this clause rightly talks about the sportsman, and also we say that this sportsman, who is he? Is the nephew of the old man. So between 1 and 3, 3 is a better option. Okay, 4 is out of question. The answer should have been 3. The answer should have been 3. Okay. Yes, Ujjwal, it is right. Ashwini, right. The answer should have been the third one. Okay. Tanishka, I hope it is clear to you. Alright. Can we look at the next question very quickly? Let's solve this one. Okay, Tanishka. Okay. The responses are coming pretty quickly. Alright. Okay. So over here, this is the modifier. Read the sentence very carefully. Used until the end of the Second World War, the German army deployed the U-boat to attack both military or civilian aircraft. We're talking about, a war. We are talking about something being used. Used until the end of the Second World War. Hang on and ask yourself, what? Right? And the answer to the question what should come right over here. Okay? What is used? The German army or the U-boat? The answer is the U-boat was used, not the German army. Okay? So the modifier is used until the end of the Second World War. What? The U-boat, the U-boat. Not the German army, not the German army. So it's either 2 or 3. Look at the sentence construction. The U-boat was deployed by the German army. Third one says the U-boat deployed the German army. How can a U-boat deploy a German army? It is wrong construction. Okay. The better answer should have been the U-boat was deployed by the German army. So 2 should have been the answer. Okay. Easy one. Can we look at one more? All right. Let's look at this one. Okay, for. All right. Okay. Most of you have got this one right. In fact, okay. So let us attack the question very quickly. It says, previously thought to have been extinct. Previously thought to have been extinct. What was extinct? Previously thought to have been extinct. What? Look over here. A team of biologists. According to the sentence, first of all, let's read the sentence, okay? A team of biologists rediscovered the new Caledonia crested gecko in 1994. All right. So we are talking about a bird that was thought to have been extinct. Okay. But it was rediscovered in 1994. But look at the problem which the sentence suffers from. Previously thought to have been extinct, right? And the very next expression is a team of biologists. So according to the question, it is the team of biologists who were thought to have been extinct. Okay, this is absolutely hilarious. One, a team of biologists rediscovered, again it suffers from the same problem. Wrong component of the sentence being modified, one is gone. Two suffers from the same problem, a team of biologists. Three is quite wordy and unstructured. It says in 1994, the new Caledonia crested gecko was discovered. Since this is an adverbial phrase, so preferably it should have been placed after, a verb. Fourth one conforms to the standard grammatical usage. Previously thought to have been extinct. What? The new Caledonia crested gecko was rediscovered by whom? By a team of biologists. One, when? In 1994. So 4 should have been the answer. Most of you got this one right. Congratulations. Okay. Let us look at one more question very quickly. Okay. Okay, can we have the answers? This question has been tweaked slightly. थोड़ा सा adjustment है, so that you also should be compelled to think and analyze कि क्या करना था. Okay, can we have the answers? Okay. Okay. Very interesting. 2, 1. All right. 2. Okay. चलो देख लेते हैं इसको. ठीक है. Let us read the question carefully. साथ में करेंगे इसको. Teratomas are unusual forms of cancer. So पहले क्लियर हो गया, हम एक कैंसर फॉर्म के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं. Right? We are talking about a cancer form, teratomas, because they are composed of tissues such as tooth and bone, not normally found in the organ in which the tumor appear. Okay, we are talking about some tissues, right, such as tooth and bone tissues are not normally found in the organ in which the tumor appears. Now, please pay attention to this part. Not normally found. Okay, not normally found. Let us read each option one by one. एक एक करके read करेंगे. Teratomas are unusual forms of cancer because they are not composed of tissues. Over here, they means what? Teratomas, it is the name of a disease, hence it cannot have a plural pronoun, right? Or again, even if we overlook this, teratomas are, so it can take there, but this is unworthy. Why? Bone, after bone you say, because they are not composed of tissues. They means what? Tooth and bone, not composed of tissues such as tooth and bone. Read it from here. Teratomas are unusual forms of cancer because they are composed of tissues. What are composed of tissues? These forms. How can they be composed of tissues such as tooth and bone? Right? How can they be composed of tissues such as tooth and bone? Right? This is not the correct way to modify teratomas. 2 says, because they are composed of tissues such as tooth and bone that are, because what? They are composed of, they means what? The unusual forms of cancer. How can they be composed of tissues such as tooth and bones? Right? 3 says, because they are composed of tissues like tooth and bones. Over here, like, understand, okay? In many exams, like is not grammatical. It should be replaced by such as. This is one rule which I think all of us should understand. कभी कभी like को हम लोग पसंद नहीं करते. Why? Because it is considered impure, ungrammatical. So it should always be substituted by such as. Look at the 4th one. In that they are composed. अब in that का मतलब क्या है? Sometimes because can be replaced by in that. It is an idiom that can, substitute because. Okay, in place of because we can always use in that, and it is possible. All right, but look at the last word, tissues. Okay, because they are composed of tissues such as tooth and bones. Now over here, tooth and bones, not normally found. Tooth and bones, what? Tissues. Tooth and bones, what? Tissues. Are we talking about tooth and bones only? No, we are talking about tissues. Not normally found should have actually spoken about the tissues and not the tooth and bones. All right. That is why 4 should have been the option. Okay. Not 1, 2, and 3. I hope this question was a bit tricky, right? But this should have been the answer. All right, the 4th one. Okay, last question of the day. Right, you should be practicing a plethora of a mixed bag of modifier questions. All right, the more you solve, because your eyes must get programmed and tuned to the type of questions that you may face in the main exams. So please try and solve as many modifier questions as possible, right? Make it a habit of solving at least 10 to 15 questions. 10 से 15 questions तो हर दिन कर ही सकते हैं. All right? Okay. And it will not take more than 15 to 20 minutes. Isn't it? Okay. Please look at this question. 1 or 4, 3, 1. Okay. Tanishka, if you were to choose between 1 and 4, which option would you go with? You can either have 1 or 4, Tanishka. You are not allowed to choose either 1 or 4 or both. All right. So, where is the modifier? 1, 3, 4. All right. Okay. So, let us look at the question. Having broken with fraud. Okay. A philosopher, a psychologist, fraud, a great name. All right. Having broken with, to end all relationship. Okay. This is the modifier. Now, who breaks with fraud? This part tells you Jung's later writings, right? Now, who is breaking with fraud? Jung's later writings. How can Jung's writing break with fraud? What is the connection? Okay. So, if it is a tie between 1 and 4, 1 is out of question, having broken with fraud. Who is breaking with fraud? Jung's later writings, and Jung's later writings cannot possibly break with fraud. So this is, we don't have the right, referent to the modifier. So 1 is gone. 4 should have been the option. Having broken with fraud. No, even 4 is not the option. I'm sorry. Having broken with fraud, later writings by Jung. Again, it is the later writings by Jung that is breaking with fraud. Even 4 is not an option. Okay. Although he had broken with fraud, who has broken with fraud? Jung. Okay. We are talking about Carl Jung. Again, a contemporary of Sigmund Freud. Okay. Who breaks with fraud? Jung. See, J is capital. It's a proper noun. Okay. So, although he had broken with fraud, who Jung in his later writings nevertheless showed signs of the continued influence of Freudian doctrines and theories. It should have been the second option. Okay. Third one can be eliminated on the same ground on which we have eliminated option 1. Okay, so the second should have been the option. Have you understood why second should have been the option? Yes, although he had broken with fraud, who breaks with fraud? Mr. Jung. In the other sentences, we have something else. Erroneous construction. Okay, so we don't have the right referent in either 1, 3 or 4. The correct option should have been the second one. Okay, so you have to be very careful when you read the sentences. All right, it is important to understand the structure, understand the modified problems and the scope, okay, to which the modifiers can modify the right referent. See if the subject is missing or not, see if the modifiers are misplaced or not, and then read it again and tick the right box or choose the right option. Okay, so that brings us to the end of today's session. If you have liked the session, please don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe, right? Your like will be counted as your attendance. So please don't forget to like it and comment if you have liked the session. Any comment is welcome. Share it with your friends and subscribe to our channel. Okay, some information. Last lap to CAT 21, right? We are coming up with 20 free sessions, right? Starting from the 28th of October, right? So you cannot miss the session. Please attend and check where you stand right before it is too late. Okay. So we also have enrollments going on in these batches, CAT courses and other MBA exams. You can find the details in the description box. Right, enroll in the 2 months crash course. Although we have entered the last lap, but it is nevertheless we are not late. If you want to, you can also. The enrollments are underway for CAT 22 batches. All those who want to enroll themselves, please do so and get guidance from the best of the best faculty in India. Okay, for the other non-CAT exams, this is the information. You can call us on this number to get all the information and get trained by the best experts in the country today. This is our panel of August faculty, right, who are actually taking classes. They're going to their last mile to give you the best of the best inputs. Online classroom details are there for CAT 21 and complete course available for CAT 22. Should you need any information, don't forget to call on this number, or you can also write into us, right? You have the email ID given. With that being said, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and download the BYJU'S exam prep app. Right? I'm going to see you again at 5:30, right? With yet another session on verbal logic. Until then, stay safe and goodbye. Thank you so much.